It may come as a surprise to learn that approximately 48 million Americans have food poisoning each year, with over 3,000 losing their lives, a number that includes many elderly individuals because their immune systems aren't as robust as they once were. Older folks face a far increased risk, according to the CDC. The fact that many of these diseases have their origins in the refrigerator is very alarming. You might be surprised to learn that several common meals could be becoming health risks due to the conditions in your refrigerator, the very appliance you trust to keep food safe. Like and subscribe for more educational health videos. Like this one, if you enjoyed it indeed, recent research has shown that certain foods, when not stored correctly in the fridge, can lead to harmful chemical reactions, nutrient loss, and even food poisoning. And what's worse, a lot of folks don't know. Your life could be at jeopardy if you have been mindlessly storing particular fruits, vegetables, or household staples in the fridge. Particularly worrisome is the first food item on this list. When cooled, it not only becomes less nutritious, but also forms chemicals that are bad for you. If you want to know anything that could save your life, or at least your health, you should read this whole article, get this video liked, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Before we start, also tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Alright, then let's go right in the ninth, the vegetable potato. Let's begin with an old standby that the majority of people put in their fridge without giving it a second thought. Traditional kitchen staples, the vegetable potato. Now though, the surprising reality is, this dangerous potatoes are really made when they are refrigerated. Some covert cellular process occurs when raw potatoes are stored in cold environments. Overly rapid conversion of potato starch to sugar occurs. At first, this may not seem like a major issue, but now things start to get scary. Refrigerated potatoes contain sugars that, when cooked or baked at high temperatures, can react with amino acids to form acrylamide. This chemical has been associated with cancer in animals and is now being studied for its potential effects on people. That is not all as a result of oxidation and nutrient loss. Potatoes change texture while stored in the fridge, turning gritty, mushy, and frequently discolored refrigerated potatoes instead of being the satisfying, filling meal that everyone loves, become a mushy, sugary slop that could be harmful when cooked. If you've ever noticed that your roasted potatoes have taken on an unusually sweet flavor or texture, it could be because of your fridge. Keep potatoes away from direct sunlight and dampness. Instead, choose a cool, dark, and dry spot in doing so. They maintain their firmness, flavor, and edible safety. Now is the time to remove any potatoes from the fridge before they transform into a potential health risk. Masquerading as dinner bread is number 8. Let's talk about bread, a staple that many elderly people always have on hand because it's soothing and vital. Putting bread in the fridge, which you might think will keep it fresh for longer, is fact quite the opposite. Retrogradation is the scientific term for the process by which bread's starch molecules begin to crystallize when exposed to cold temperatures. This is essentially a fancy way of stating what happens in practice. This begins fairly instantly. It doesn't take weeks to. What does it signify? Refrigerating your light and airy bread will hasten its staleness. Compared to leaving it out at room temperature, yes, it's true that bread doesn't stay fresh in the fridge. It quickens the staling process. And although the change may not be immediately apparent, it is certainly detectable in flavor. Toasted foods like sandwiches lose some of their appeal as the texture turns rough, dry, and crumbly. It gets worse from here, though bread becomes a perfect environment for mold to grow. When it loses moisture in the refrigerator, the moist, uneven environment that forms when food is refrigerated and then heated again is ideal for mold spores. In addition to being disgusting, moldy bread is potentially harmful for older persons with compromised immune systems. Ingestion of mycotoxins, toxic chemicals produced by some molds, can have devastating effects. Actually, freezing is the way to go if you want your bread to last longer. Mold and staling can be prevented in the freezer without compromising texture. Slice it ahead of time and thaw it when you need it. How about that refrigerator, though? Don't even think about bringing your daily loaf here. Store bread in an airtight container or bread box for a few days. At room temperature after that, put it in the freezer, stay warm, and protect yourself and your loaf from the cold seventh number. The vegetable onion putting onions in the fridge is a typical error that might cause unforeseen issues. So you might be shocked to see them here. The onion's papery skin serves to ward off moisture, preserve flavor, and keep the onion's firmness and hardness. But that equilibrium is totally upset when you put onions in the fridge when onions are chopped. They absorb moisture more quickly due to the cold and humidity in the refrigerator. The result is usually mold development, an unpleasant taste, and a mushy texture. The problem of odor transfer, however, is far more serious. When onions are placed in the fridge, they produce sulfur compounds that accelerate their breakdown and can even permeate neighboring goods. They are also very smelly. Have you ever thought that onions might be hiding in your fruit or butter? That's not something you're making up. The refrigerator is soaking up volatile chemicals, like a sponge. Bacterial contamination is another hidden threat. Bacteria will grow on sliced onions in the fridge, regardless of whether they are covered or not. While it's not true that onions absorb toxins, as some food myths suggest, it is true that onions, particularly when stored incorrectly and exposed to dampness, can host hazardous microorganisms. A pantry or other dry, dark, and well-ventilated area is ideal for storing entire onions. Keep entire onions cool, but only store sliced onions in the fridge if they are airtight and consumed soon, preferably within a day or two. That will lead to food going bad, nutrients going out the window, and an unsavory fridge full of surprises with an onion flavor. Tomatoes, number 6 when it comes to keeping perishable foods fresh. Tomatoes may be the most misunderstood fruit. The common belief is that storing tomatoes in the fridge will extend their freshness. But in reality, cold temperatures ruin the texture and flavor of tomatoes. Tomatoes, according to science, are tropical fruits that suffer greatly from chilly temperatures. Refrigerating tomatoes stops them from ripening because the cold air disrupts their natural enzymes. A lot of the tomato's flavor actually comes from when it ripens. If you don't have it, the fruit will be mealy, watery, and tasteless. The texture is also important to consider. Refrigerated tomatoes become mushy and rubbery after losing their firmness. Nothing remains of the fresh tomatoes. Characteristic bite and juicy burst. The impact on nutrients is considerably more worrisome. The vitamin C in tomatoes is healthy for you, but it goes bad quickly in cold storage. So eating them too soon may ruin their flavor and health advantages. When exposed to prolonged cold, even the skin begins to shrivel and wrinkle, making what is otherwise a very young object look ancient and unappealing. The tomato has probably been chilled if you've ever cut into it and found it watery or bland. To keep tomatoes fresh for longer, place them stem side down, keep them at room temperature, and keep them out of direct sunlight. Use them right away or boil them. If they're too ripe, don't be a hero and put them in the fridge. Actually, all you're doing is hastening their demise. Many consider garlic a superfood because of the sulfur compounds it contains, such as alautin, which aid in immune system support and blood pressure reduction. However, if you keep garlic in the fridge, its great health advantages will either soon go away or perhaps become dangerous. Garlic bulbs can be stored at room temperature for several weeks or months if kept in a dry, cool, and well-ventilated place. However, the natural preservation of garlic is compromised when stored in the refrigerator due to the moisture and cold temperature. Premature sprouting of the cloves alters their flavor and indicates a change in their chemical composition. Something harsh and rubbery replaces that sharp and tasty punch. Worse, the allicin, the active ingredient in garlic that gives it its health benefits, is mostly lost when the garlic is sprouted. Now we get to the most terrifying part. Garlic, particularly minced or chopped, garlic kept in oil can harbor the botulism, causing Clostridium botulinum bacterium if left in the fridge for an extended period of time. If this rare disease is not treated quickly, it can cause paralysis or even death. Many individuals continue to do this despite FDA warnings about the dangers of storing garlic in oil without acid or refrigeration protections. Garlic doesn't need freezing. Just store the bulb whole in a basket or mesh bag to prevent bacteria growth. Use chopped garlic right away and store it in a vinegar or lemon juice basis. However, you shouldn't leave your garlic sit in the fridge, unripe or unprotected if you want to keep it fresh. Count 4 a cup. Of coffee, you heard it right. Coffee is on this list and there's a solid reason for it. Coffee grinds and beans are very light smell and moisture sensitive. Putting them in the fridge gives the impression that you're keeping them fresh. But in reality, you're only preparing them for a quick demise. Coffee, like a sponge, soaks up moisture and aromas from its surroundings because it is hygroscopic. As soon as coffee is placed in the refrigerator, begins to absorb the fragrances and flavors of the produce and leftovers that surround it. Your beans' individual flavor profiles will be utterly ruined, and the resulting brew will be bland, harsh, or otherwise bizarre. However, taste is only one consideration. The true adversary in this case is moisture condensation forms on coffee beans or grounds whenever the refrigerator door is opened and closed. Due to the combination of the cold air and humidity within, this causes the important oils, like chlorogenic acids, that give coffee its flavor and health advantages to break down, which in turn causes clumping and premature staling. These acids break down more quickly in cold, wet environments, but they are antioxidants that help keep the heart and brain healthy. Cold coffee loses its flavor, and any health benefits it may have as it ages, plus mold can form on wet coffee grounds, particularly if the container isn't airtight. Put your coffee in a dark cupboard tightly in an opaque container and let it sit at room temperature. Instead of in the fridge, it retains its freshness, flavor, and safety in this way. The third one, my darling, this one could catch you off guard. It has a golden hue, is thick, and has a pleasant taste. It also looks at home in the fridge. Honey, on the other hand, doesn't fare well when kept in the fridge. Indeed, putting honey in the fridge does more than just destroy its texture. It also entirely undoes the natural preservation mechanism that allows honey to remain edible. Indefinitely cold temperatures lead honey to crystallize quickly when stored. In the refrigerator, it becomes extremely hard, gritty, and nearly impossible to spread or scoop as a result. Oh, it's just a change in texture. You would say not exactly when a container is opened and reopened several times during the crystallization process. Air pockets might be trapped, allowing moisture to enter. Honey is not a fan of damp conditions. It can cause fermentation, which results in a sour aroma and flavor in your honey. To make matters worse, moisture promotes the growth of microbes, a problem that honey often avoids due to its high acidity and low water content. However, its natural defenses are compromised when kept incorrectly. Additionally, honey's antibacterial effects are aided by its natural enzymes, which are slowed down by cold temperatures. Keeping honey in the fridge can reduce its health benefits. Thus, the answer is yes, store honey in an airtight container in a cool, dark place, out of direct sunlight and excessive temperatures. This ensures that the time-tested medicinal properties, like its silky texture, natural flavor, and all of its restorative components, remain intact. Rank 2 fresh bananas because of their high potassium content and low digestion. Bananas are a go-to fruit for many people, including seniors. But chilling bananas is a surefire way to ruin their wonderful qualities. The chemistry of bananas is designed to withstand warm climates, making them tropical fruits. Putting them in the fridge, particularly before they're completely ripe, causes the ripening enzymes to shut down. Your bananas might never reach their full ripeness because of that. The worst part is that they will remain hard, have no flavor, and have their skin change to a dull gray or black color very fast. Not only is this discoloration unsightly, but it also indicates the presence of cold injury beneath that blackened exterior. The banana frequently becomes mushy in strange places and acquires a disagreeable metallic taste. Bananas are delicious and visually appealing, but they also lose some of their natural antioxidants when they are refrigerated. These antioxidants, particularly coccins and dopamine, are crucial for maintaining brain health and lowering oxidative stress in cells that are exposed to age. Tossing bananas in the fridge removes those chemicals which are really vital for elders without anyone realizing. The accumulation of moisture within the skin, particularly around the stem area, can foster the growth of mold, which is an even more problematic situation. If the banana is already overripe when placed in the refrigerator, Therefore, you run the danger of mold exposure. Rather than extending shelf life to keep bananas ripe and juicy, store them in an airtight container, or better yet, hang them from a hook. Freeze peeled bananas in a container for later use in smoothies or baking if you find yourself with an abundance of ripe bananas. But in the interest of their longevity, please do not freeze them. The fruit's nutritional value, texture, and original function will all be compromised. Oliva oil comes out on top despite its various uses and reputation as a heart-healthy staple. Olive oil is really the most harmful product to keep. In the fridge, particularly for the elderly, olive oil turns murky and semi-olid when kept in the fridge because of a process called solidification, in which the fatty acids crystallize. While there's nothing intrinsically bad about this physical shift, few seniors comprehend the major health issues caused by the repeated temperature swings from putting the oil in and out of the refrigerator. Like, chemical structure of olive oil is stressed every time it travels from cold to warm, which speeds up the oxidation process, which in turn can create free radicals and reduce the oil's antioxidant benefits. These oxidative alterations have the potential to convert oil that is good for the heart into one that may actually make things worse for seniors by increasing inflammation. Worryingly, research suggests that these oils, which are already common in older persons, may exacerbate inflammation in the joints and gastrointestinal irritation due to the high temperatures they were exposed to. The oil becomes more difficult to pour due to solidification, which raises the possibility of spillage or overuse and adds extra calories to the diets of seniors. In addition to the obvious health risks, eating cold olive oil drastically alters the flavor profile, eliminating the pleasant, fruity, and peppery undertones that are characteristic of the heart-healthy Mediterranean diet. Instead, keep olive oil in a sealed metal or dark glass container out of direct sunlight and away from stoves and other heat sources. When kept in the right conditions, premium olive oil can keep its flavor and health advantages for as long as 2 years after bottling. That wraps up our list of 9 foods that should never be kept in the fridge. Sorting your food storage by category is a good place to start. Avoid refrigerating avocados and bananas until they reach the ideal ripeness point. Onions and potatoes do better when stored in cool, dark settings. Rather than damp, cold ones, never refrigerate bread. It's best served at room temperature or frozen. Put the honey in the pantry and the coffee in a dark, airtight jar. Tomatillo sauce with garlic, be respectful of them because they are potent. All natural compounds, properly storing them will ensure that their flavor and health advantages remain intact. It is time for you to speak. Up is the danger of storing these foods in the fridge, something you've been oblivious to immediately. What are you going to do differently? Leave a comment below and tell us about yourself and your thoughts. Please share them with us. Much obliged for your time. It is.